Poodle as Totem. In the collective imagination, the couple formed by married concierges, a close-knit pair consisting of two entities so insignificant that only their union can make them apparent, will in all likelihood be the owners of a poodle. As we all know, poodles are a type of curly-haired dog preferred by petite bourgeoisie retirees, ladies very much on their own who transfer their affection upon their pet, or residential concierges ensconced in their gloomy lodges. Poodles come in black or apricot. The apricot ones tend to be crabbier than the black ones, who on the other hand do not smell as nice. Though all poodles bark snappily at the slightest provocation, they are particularly inclined to do so when nothing at all is happening. They follow their masters by trotting on their little stiff legs without moving the rest of their sausage-shaped trunk. Above all, they have venomous little black eyes, set deep in their insignificant eye sockets. Poodles are ugly and stupid, submissive and boastful. They are poodles, after all. Thus, the concierge couple, as served by the metaphor of their totemic poodle, seems to be utterly devoid of such passions as love and desire, and like their totem, destined to remain ugly, stupid, submissive, and boastful. If in certain novels, princes fall in love with working-class lasses, and princesses with galley slaves, between two concierges, even of the opposite sex, there is never any romance of the type that others experience, and that might someday make a worthy story. Not only were we never the owners of a poodle, but I believe I can fairly assert that our marriage was a success. With my husband, I was myself. I think back on our little Sunday mornings with nostalgia, mornings blessed with restfulness, where in the silent kitchen he would drink his coffee while I read. I married him at the age of 17, following a swift but proper courtship. He worked at the factory, as did my older brothers, and stopped by in many an evening on his way home to drink a coffee and a drop of something stronger. Alas, I was ugly, and yet that would never have played the slightest role had I been ugly the way others were ugly. But I bore the cruelty of my affliction alone, this ugliness that deprived me of any freshness. Although I was not yet a woman, and caused me at the age of 15 to resemble the woman I would be at the age of 50. My stooped back, thick waist, short legs, widespread feet, abundant hair, and lumpy features, well, features lacking any shapeliness or grace, might have been overlooked for the sake of the youthful charm granted to even the most prepossessing among us. But no, at the age of 20, I had already qualified as an old biddy. Thus, when the intentions of my future husband became clear, and it was no longer possible for me to ignore them, I opened my heart to him, speaking frankly for the first time to someone other than my own self. And I confessed to him how astonished I was that he might conceive of wanting to marry me. I was sincere. I had for many years accustomed myself to the prospect of a solitary life. To be poor, ugly, and moreover intelligent condemns one in our society to a dark and disillusioned life, a condition one ought to accept at an early age. To beauty, all is forgiven, even vulgarity. Intelligence no longer seems an adequate compensation for things, some sort of balancing of the scales offered by nature to those less favored among her children. No, it is a superfluous plaything that exists only to enhance the value of the jewel. As for ugliness, it is guilty from the start, and I was doomed to my tragic destiny to suffer all the more, for I was hardly stupid. Renee, he replied, with as much gravity as he could muster, showing himself to be more loquacious during the long disquisition to come than he would ever be again. Renee, I don't want my wife to be one of those giddy young things who run wild and have no more brain than a sparrow beneath their pretty face. I want a woman who's loyal, a good wife, a good mother, and a good housekeeper. I want a calm and steady companion who will stay by my side and support me. In exchange, you can expect me to be a serious worker, a calm man at home, and a tender husband at the right moment. I'm not a bad sort, and I'll do my best. And he did. Small and dry like the stump of an elm tree, he had nevertheless a pleasant face and usually wore a smile. He did not drink, smoke, chew tobacco, or gamble. At home, when work was done, he'd watch the television, browse through fishing magazines, or play cards with his friends from the factory. He was very sociable and often invited people over. On Sundays, he went fishing. As for me, I looked after the housekeeping because he didn't like the idea of me doing it for other people. He was not lacking in intelligence, although his particular intelligence was not of the sort that had an industrious society values. While his skills were confined to manual work, he displayed a talent that did not stem solely from mere mechanical aptitude. And however uneducated he might be, he approached everything with a spirit of ingenuousness, something which, where small tasks are concerned, distinguishes the artist from the mere laborers, and in conversation shows that knowledge is not everything. Having been resigned from an early age to the prospect of the life of a nun, I felt, therefore, that it was benign indeed of the heavens to have placed between my young bride's hands a companion with such agreeable manners, and who, while not an intellectual, was no less clever for it. I might have ended up with the likes of Grelier. Bernard Grelier is one of the rare souls at 7 Rue de Grenelle in whose presence I have no fear of betraying myself. Whether I say to him, War and Peace is the staging of a determinist version of history, or you do well to oil the hinges in the garbage room, he will not find that one is any more significant than the other. It even seems miraculous that the latter phrase manages to fire him into action. How can one do something one does not understand? No doubt this type of preposition does not require any rational processing, and like those stimuli that move in a loop through our spinal cord and set off a reflex without calling on the brain, perhaps the summons to apply oil is merely of a mechanical nature and sets in motion a reaction in one's limbs without inviting it to the mind to participate. Bernard Grelier is a husband of Violet Grelier, who is a housekeeper for the Arthens. She began working for them 30 years ago as a simple maid, and she rose through the ranks as they in turn became wealthier. And when she was a housekeeper, she found herself reigning over a laughable kingdom, whose subjects were the cleaning lady, Manuela, the part-time butler, an Englishman, and the factotum, her husband. She is as scornful of the lower classes as are her high and mighty upper-class employers. All day long she jabbers like a magpie, busily rushing here and there, acting important, reprimanding her menial subalterns as if this were Versailles and better days, and exhausting Manuela with pontificating speeches about the love of a job well done and the decline of good manners. "She hasn't read Marx," said Manuela to me one day. The pertinence of this remark, uttered by a Portuguese woman who is in no way well versed in the study of philosophy, is striking. No, Violet Grelier has certainly not read any Marx, for the simple reason that he does not appear on any list of cleaning products for rich people's silverware. She has paid the price for this oversight by inheriting a daily routine punctuated with endless catalogues vaunting the qualities of starch and linen dust cloths. I therefore had been well married. To my husband, moreover, I had very quickly confessed my great sin. Profound thought number 2. The cat here on Earth, modern totem, and intermittently decorative. In any case, this is true at our place. If you want to understand my family, all you have to do is look at the cats. Our 2 cats are fat windbags who eat designer kibble and have no interesting interaction with human beings. They drag themselves from one sofa to the next and leave their fur everywhere, and no one seems to have grasped that they have no affection for any of us. The only purpose of cats is that they constitute mobile decorative objects, a subject which I find intellectually interesting. But unfortunately, our cats have such drooping bellies that this does not apply to them. My mother, who has read all of Balzac and quotes Flaubert at every dinner, is living proof every day of how education is a raving fraud. All you need to do is watch her with the cats. She's vaguely aware of their decorative potential, and yet she insists on talking to them as if they were people, which she would never do with a lamp or an Etruscan statue. It would seem that children believe for a very long time that anything that moves has a soul and is endowed with intention. My mother is no longer a child, but she apparently has not managed to conceive that Constitution and Parliament possess no more understanding than the vacuum cleaner. I concede that the difference between the vacuum cleaner and the cats is that a cat can experience pain and pleasure. But does that mean it has a greater ability to communicate with humans? Not at all. That should simply incite us to take special precautions with them, as we would with very fragile objects. That should simply incite us to take special precautions with them, as we would with very fragile objects. When I hear my mother say, "Constitution is both very proud and very sensitive little cat," when in fact said cat is sprawled on the sofa because she's eaten too much, it really makes me want to laugh. But if you think about the hypothesis that a cat's purpose is to act as a modern totem, a sort of emblematic incarnation, protector of the home, reflecting well upon its owners, then everything becomes clear. My mother makes the cats into what she wishes we were, and which we absolutely are not. You won't find anyone less proud and sensitive than the 3 aforementioned members of the Joss family, Papa, Maman, and Colombe. They are utterly spineless and anesthetized, emptied of all emotion. In short, in my opinion, the cat is a modern totem. Say what you want, do what you will with all those fine speeches on evolution, civilization, and a ton of other chun words. Mankind has not progressed very far from its origins. People still believe they are not here by chance, and that there are gods, kindly for the most part, who are watching over their fate.